Welcome to another episode of Ask Mr. Long Island. My name is Michael Watt, a.k.a. Mr. Long Island, and today our guest is Michelle Richey. Did you get it?
You got it.
I practiced. That's beautiful.
You got it.
Michelle, or Mike, we're going to call because I don't want to press my luck. Mike is with OSC World and based out of Lynbrook, USA, the only Lynbrook in the country. Thank you very much. And Mike is going to walk us through some really cool things that you're doing in the world of technology with social media, really happening things that confirms to me that there's some really great stuff going on in Long Island. Just so much of it is under the radar. So I appreciate you being here today, Michael. And
my pleasure.
I look forward to learning more about what you're doing and how Long Islanders can use it to their benefit. But like we do every week, we're going to start off our discussion talking about pizza. And the reason for that is Long Island's such a diverse region. The one thing every town in Long Island has in common is a pizza place.
Right.
And Long Islanders will drive past other pizza places to get to a really good one if they know about it. So what's your contribution to our database of pizza places?
Well, I live in Wausau.
Okay.
And my favorite pizza place is Umberto's.
Umberto's.
Yep.
Okay, that's on Wausau Avenue?
That's on Wausau Avenue and Jerusalem, the cross streets.
Now, ironically, that's in the Cherrywood Shopping Plaza.
I
and there
believe
used
so.
to be a place there called the Cherrywood Bar, and they had a garbage pie that was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's no longer there. It's a Dunkin' Donuts now. So, but someday we'll do a segment on pizza places that are no longer there, but nobody cares. Mike, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to Ask Mr. Long Island, where we talk about things that really help people just adjust to life better in Long Island. Tell us a little bit about OSC World and what you're doing there and why it's of interest.
Okay, I'm the Executive Vice President of Business Development for OSC World, and we've been in business since 1991. And we started out as a marketing research company. We're still involved with marketing research with some of the largest companies in the world, Gallup, Simmons, IBM, Maritz. And then we used our patented software to move into the education space. And so now we're involved with test scoring, controversial subject these days.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So we score the 3 through 8 ELA math tests as well as 4th and 8th grade science. And we process regents for a lot of the BOCES in New York State. Last year we processed 1 million regents in New York State.
Wow. So you take those test results, the test papers, and you process them so you don't have one person just sitting there scoring everything.
Correct. We're a data capture company, so we get the paper, we cut, we scan, we digitize, and then for the 3 through 8 ELA, we handle the constructive responses. So we hire teachers. We have 4 scoring centers across the New York State.
Okay.
And then they're taught the rubric and they score the exams on computers.
Wow. Now, can this be applied to other kinds of companies that are collecting data?
Yeah, we have a lot of licensees all over the country that are still handling paper and want to digitize that paper. So, Gallup, for example, we just closed a huge deal with them, and they send us buckets of mail in our freight elevators every day, which we digitize and process for them internationally.
These are companies that are collecting. You fill out a survey, you fill out a form.
Yep.
Do you foresee a time, and would that hurt you or benefit you, or people just, instead of filling out a form, there's a little tablet on the counter, and they can fill it out?
Yeah, well, that's what's happened. I mean, for the smaller surveys, online surveys certainly have taken over. But for the large survey companies, Simmons, for example, has a 142-page book that they send out with incentives for people to fill out. And Gallup also has large surveys. So for the large surveys companies, for reliability and validity of what's happening, they prefer to still have paper in multiple languages. So we process that for them.
Now, one of the things that fascinates me about this is years ago I had a magazine and we were collecting like $15 a subscription, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we had a consultant come in and he said, listen, the $15 is nice, but you're really better off giving a subscription for free, but have them fill out a survey. When do you plan on buying a car?
Right.
Is that talk a little bit about the data that you're collecting. Do you analyze it at all, or you just collect it and break it down?
We collect it, we break it down, and then we send it back to those large marketing research firms, and they break it down.
And the reason that they're collecting is they want to get a better sense of
whatever it is, markets, you bought a car, you want to know about that. You're watching TV, what programs do you watch? Any number of things that large survey companies address.
But the reason why it's important is it takes the guesswork out of trying to figure out what to offer to people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the benefit to the person filling out the survey, like I just went on a trip and I filled out a survey afterwards from the hotel.
Yeah.
Do you get involved in that process at all? You're just digesting the information?
We don't get involved with the online surveys at this point. We're involved with the test scoring, but not at the survey level.
What else do you do with the school districts? What kind of work are you doing with them?
Well, we have several products that we market to school districts. So one of the new ones, which has gotten quite a lot of play, is called Digital Fly.
Okay.
We were featured on ABC News last week. Digital Fly is essentially the electronic fly on the wall for social media, and essentially it monitors social media for potential threats. So we're marketing it to school districts for any threat that might take place. Now, it could be involved with threats within the school community, bullying, fights, anything that would happen on a daily basis. But it can also monitor what's happening outside of the school in the community that might relate to any kind of thing, gangs, bomb threats, anything like that.
So you can really keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening. Like we just had a very unfortunate situation in the Suffolk County School District where there was a raucous.
I read all about it.
Okay, that's something that by monitoring the social media, how do you define who to monitor, or when you say monitoring, how does that work?
Well,
without giving away any trade secrets.
Well, it looks at Twitter accounts, looks at Facebook accounts, and effectively, most people are really publicly communicating. We don't look at anybody's private account.
Right.
But effectively, it would help, and it does help, school districts to throw filters into the software so that they can put in acronyms or words that relate to fighting or bullying or bomb or gun or anything that you could put in, and then you'll only see in your geofence, in your community, that whatever it is that's being communicated.
Now, you kind of touched on something that I think makes people a little bit nervous. Now, you're not technically reading the communications, you're just looking for those code words. Or are you? I don't know.
Well, it can look at anything that's being communicated out there that has those threatening words that a district would put in, it would find and pinpoint.
And then they would see where it's coming from, or they would see...
They would be able to see where it's coming from while it's being posted.
Wow.
Once that individual moves, they wouldn't be able to see it after that.
But it's a way of...
it's a way of ensuring safety of students and staff. Given what's been going on all over the country and all over the world with schools in the past 15 years, going back to Columbine, and we read about all these things, daily about what's happening, and this is the kind of cloud-based application that can help to promote the safety of students and staff in a school district.
So I'm running a school district, or I'm responsible for a school district, large or small, and I engage your company. Do I get a report from you, or how does that work?
You have total control over the application. We create a latitude and longitudinal geofence around your school district, typically 10 miles. If it's a larger school district, could be 20 miles, could be 30 miles. And then certain users that you designate would have the ability to track what's going on in your community school district for potential threats.
So if there was talk of a fight after school on a football field, the school district would have a heads up on that before it actually happened.
Correct.
Wow. That's really cool.
It is cool. That's a cool product. And the developers, we're the marketing end of this particular product. The developers are right here in Hauppauge.
Really?
Yeah.
How old is this product? Is this fairly new?
It's fairly new.
Wow.
It's fairly new. It came out in January of this year. I just came back from a conference in Houston, Texas, and I've had over 120 leads that relate to districts wanting to know more about it. They want pricing, and they want installations.
Wow. What do you mentioned some other product lines that you're doing? What else you got going on?
We have an application called Digital Writing, which takes any form that any vertical market could use, digitizes it, puts it on a tablet device, and then moves it into your back document space so that it's kind of like forms on the go.
Okay.
It interfaces with Google, with Salesforce, with all of the Quicken, any of the applications that people might use in a document environment.
And it facilitates the processing of that information?
Yeah. For example, we did a job fair in Syracuse.
Okay.
And all of the human resource information that one would fill out to apply for a job was on our Android and iPad tablets, and people would fill out the I-9s, the W-4s, the whole thing. Then we'd process it and send it up.
I've been to a number of networking events, and here we are in a high-tech region, or a region that touts itself as a hotbed of high-tech activity, and there's the clipboard with the sign-in sheet.
Right.
It makes me nuts.
Right. When we go to a conference, we have our sign-in sheet as our either iPad or Android. We take the information down of who it is that stopped at a booth, and then we're able to follow up very easily with that.
And follow-up is an important component of that.
Follow-up is an important component of any presentation that you're going to do
right.
at any conference.
Well, to me, that's the beauty of all this high-tech stuff is if, it kind of goes back to the Yellow Pages. If you're a plumber and you want to have, no one's going through the Yellow Pages to memorize the list of plumbers.
Right.
If you're going through the Yellow Pages, you need
right.
a plumber, you got something burst in your house.
Right.
The technology of people, if they're looking for something, you want to know about it. Or
yep.
if they've expressed an interest, probably a better way to put it, that's the time to get them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I kind of knew, I remember getting a Christmas present for somebody, and the next day I got an email. This is back in the late 90s.
Uh-huh.
I got an email, what'd you think of the thing that you got?
Uh-huh.
I was like, wow. And they offered 50% off on a similar product.
Uh-huh.
That's when I knew the internet was going to be pretty cool. Do you feel
Well,
that,
yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I remember going to a conference in San Francisco, actually Monterey, and it was 1996, and the company was going wild about their new webpage. It was like the hottest thing. This is 1996.
Right.
It's 19 years ago.
Right.
And it was like a big deal to have a web page 19 years ago. Well, now, if you don't have a web page, if you don't have social media presence, you're not going to stay in business very long.
But even more importantly, if somebody comes to your webpage, they're interested in what you're selling
yes.
or what you're offering.
Yes.
And if you don't capture that,
right.
you're wasting your own time.
Yes. And we use a tool called Lead Forensics that allows us to see anybody who's accessing our webpage.
Would you mind walking us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. It's a subscription price. It doesn't cost a lot of money annually. And essentially, a little script is put into your web page at the top of your header. And then essentially, whether people look for information when they go to your web page or not, you get the name of the company, the phone number, the email address,
wow.
and you can follow up and say, hey, I noticed that you were on our webpage. What is it that we can do for you? Whether it's on the marketing research side, whether it's on the education side, whether it's on digital fly, digital writing, we have that ability to follow up, which is a great tool for marketing purposes.
I would imagine. I mean, that's kind of like if somebody walks into your store and then they walk around and they leave without buying something.
And you don't know who they were.
You don't know who they were, but it's like the high-tech equivalent chasing after them. So what were you looking for? What?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And does it? Do you collect that information from the people? Or you just enable the guy who owns the website to collect it?
No. We collect it. We have several people that have access to it, and ultimately we follow up depending on the division that person is in. So, whether it's college or university, whether it's K-12 education, whether it's marketing research and surveys, we have different people that follow up on that.
From your clients that have this service, do you hear from them that there's a backlash? Like, maybe somebody was just kind of surfing a little bit and
Well, you can tell.
Okay.
So, if a plumbing company goes on our website, they've just gone on to, because they thought OSC World was something that had to do with toilets. I don't
Okay,
know.
right.
You know, so you can filter out those that you're not interested in, where you could have a no interest, or you can have that they're a supplier of some sort, and then you don't see any of those.
Okay.
You only follow what you want for your business.
And can you tell, like, I remember when the websites were first being developed and you could look at the traffic, not only could you determine where they were coming into the site, but what was causing them to leave, you know, or if one page was causing more people to leave, you could kind of fix that.
Right. This tool lets you know which, you know, because there are multiple pages on a website. It
Right.
tells you which pages they've gone onto and for how long they've been on it.
Right.
That's-
Which is telling you that there's something of interest there.
Right. If they're on there for 2 seconds, then
Well, but then you know there's something
Right.
wrong with that page.
Right.
Or if that's the page where everybody's exiting from,
Right.
you know there's something about that page that nobody
Right.
likes.
right.
You mentioned, are there other things that you're doing, or what else you got?
Well-
this is fascinating, so if you don't...
Well, you know, one thing I want to mention is the owners of the company, Michael Kerr and Jeffrey Schneider, have really done a great job in the past 24 years of allowing their staff to follow through on any of the potential for future marketing purposes, and they're a great ownership to work with.
And you're based out of Limbrook?
We're based out of Limbrook.
How long have you been there? Roughly.
About 4 years in Limbrook. About 6 years in Limbrook. Before that, in Rockville Center, and before that, in a couple of other places. But this is a 18,000 square foot facility. We've got, you know, it's a really nice office setting.
The reason I ask is one of the things that's fascinates me about the Long Island business community is you have so many companies like yours that do these really cool things.
Yeah.
That kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah, fly.
Well, by the way, whoever came up with Digital Fly, I hope they got a raise, because that's beautiful.
Derek Peterson.
That's a very cool name.
Who's the developer? Came up with the name, and actually, I'm going to go see him right after this. He's right here in Hauppauge. One other thing I forgot to mention is. Aside from all of those things that we're involved with, we also process the elections of unions for the American Arbitration Association.
Wow. Okay.
All over the country.
So, like I said, you know, I'm starting to say, with the Long Island, it has so many companies like yours that do these really fascinating, really cool stuff, but it's just under the radar for whatever reason.
Right.
And one of the things, so I appreciate your time today and sharing all this information was, well, one of the things we're trying to do through Ask Mr. Long Island is get people to appreciate and understand that there's these really great companies right here in Long Island. So thank you very much, Mike. And this was great. I think the Digital Fly thing, the timing's tremendous.
I agree.
I mean, Long Island alone, 126 school districts, and they're all very concerned with what's being
Absolutely.
said and what's going on out there. So that's a terrific service that you're providing. And I think it's great. So thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Is there a website that people can go to for information?
OSCworld.com.
OSC World, not OCS, OSC World.
OSCworld.com.
Okay, terrific. Mike, thank you very much for
My
your time.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
This has been another episode of Ask Mr. Long Island. My name is Michael Watt, a.k.a. Mr. Long Island, and we appreciate your time today as well. Thank you.